Right, welcome back to episode number 100. And bear with me on this episode because it's me just going back to old school. I didn't structure anything up. I said that whatever comes up is going to be important to come up to get into creative. So it probably takes me 5 minutes to get into the creative zone. But I'll tell you a story about my walk that I did last night and how I was feeling about it and what were the takeaways. I also referenced the movie Soul, fantastic movie with great metaphors. And I actually spend the last 10 to 15 minutes on it. And I think if you're listening to this type of podcast, that story, if you didn't pick up on it when you watch the movie or you haven't watched the movie, it'll give you a hell of a lot of what you need to be able to reflect on yourself. I also go in the middle of the podcast just through what is episode 100, what have we been through, where we're trying to go, and just trying to spark a big something for you. So there are some takeaways for you in the middle there for you to take away. With that being said, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I appreciate you still being on the journey or just joining the journey. Enjoy. Welcome back to episode number 100. And it's nice to have you guys here. If this is your first episode that you're ever listening to, boy, are you in for a treat. If this is your 100th episode, please make yourself known. I would like to send you a free shirt because I have integrated some of the old bits we've got, and I've got a couple of branded shirts I'm trying to test out. And I love it. Anyway, trying to stay tuned. So in tune, aligned. Episode number 100 is a good opportunity for us to take a bit of stock. So I want to kind of revisit if you're generally just joining this now, or if you've only listened to a couple of episodes and you don't really, you're struggling with something that is like comparison, for example. The reason I like online and what I really try and endeavor to do is who you are when no one is watching is more important to me than who you are when everyone is watching. So we're in episode number 100. Go back to episode number 1. I literally pressed record. You can hear me rustling papers and going, oh no, that's not a good note and all that. And I was like, this is the journey that we're on. And I did my own intros. I beatboxed them. I think I beatboxed them. I whistled a very special tune. And then I got Miles, to my son, to do the beatboxing intro, and we just haven't changed it. I'm like, actually, at the end of the day, what we're trying to get out there is just the message and the journey, and so that you can see the trend of what a journey looks like. So when everyone goes, it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. You've got to enjoy the journey and all that kind of stuff. And you go, what does that actually mean? I'm trying to capture that. So that's why episode number 1 was episode number 1. The thumbnails were terrible. I'm surprised it got out the way it did. But it's there. So if you're struggling with comparison at the moment and you want to see where origins come from, I've recorded it all. I haven't taken them out. Go and take a look. Where are we heading to now, though? We're at episode number 100. I have said that about 4 times. So if I say it again, sorry. I've recorded a guest podcast that was supposed to be number 100. And I've been debating whether to make this 100 something of a spectacle or not. But then I'm not going to make a spectacle of it. But I do realize that it's important to acknowledge milestones, and 100 is a lot. I think 101 for me is going to be even more special because I'll always add one for the future. And so you take that principle into gymming, and everything you do is like, if you're set to do 10 reps, do 11, because 11 is for the future. It just makes sure that you're framing yourself with this, what you're working towards. Now, an interesting moment last night, I did a weighted vest walk. I'm currently doing challenge 51, which means work out every single day for 51 weeks, then rest for 1 week and go again. Genuinely, I can't tell you how satisfying and rewarding that journey has been so far, because we are maybe 5 months into that and done every single day. Every single day we've done, except 2 when I was really sick. So I was like, okay, we're not going to do it if we're sick. But an interesting moment happened last night. I went out for a weighted vest walk because I like the walks, but if I can make it a little bit harder, that makes challenge 51 that much more rewarding. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when you go for a walk, it's to escape life. Not escape. Escape's probably the wrong word. Reset, take a breath, find your feet again, and just be able to just get some space, right? So I think it's a really healthy routine or structure to have so that you can clear your head. Whether it is to escape, to get your emotions to calm down, whether it is to recharge, connect with nature, whatever it is. But if you think about the whole way that it's framed currently is, I want to go out into nature to connect with it, because when I'm not in nature, I'm disconnected. And I was thinking about this is we are constantly living in a narrative that is unobviously filling our thoughts with whatever you're doing right now isn't what you're meant to be doing. So do all of these things, and that gets you aligned with that. So, for example, going and walking in nature, because where you are right now isn't actually serving you. And I don't know if we realize, but I don't think that that's a healthy mentality to have. And I think the best things to question are those ones that sit underneath. Now, I was walking last night, and I genuinely felt incredible. Like there was something inside of me that felt a high for life. And I've been listening to Mozart's Fifth Symphony, and I had called Pete, my mate, and we just had a chat, and I was talking to him about all the things that I've been creating and how excited I was for, Identity Human, and just some of my ideas for it. And then I went back to songs that told stories, and it didn't quite hit. And so then the one from Soul actually came up, and I did a little clip or a reel from Soul, which I'll talk to you guys about just now, because it's an interesting concept. But I had this moment in me that was just, I've reached it. And what I mean by it is I was just walking, and the sun had gone down, and I was walking the side of the road, listening to music, and it was euphoric. And I'm not like I'd had a caffeine. Like sometimes you've had like a couple of caffeines, you're buzzing, you're like, life is amazing. I didn't have that. I mean, I didn't have the caffeine to reach that, but I reached that inside of me. And I was like, if I'd gone back 2 or 3 years ago, I don't think I ever would have thought that that there was, I knew that it existed, but I was like, how do I reach it? Because I can't feel it. Like there's this genuine excitement and buzz for life. And I was like, how do people get that? Because I haven't felt that. And I don't know if maybe the last time we felt it was when you were a kid, or for me. Anyway, so the more I think about it, is actually like I haven't had a genuine excitement. I haven't been able to be genuinely excited for life. Like I've been married, I've had 4 kids and all that. And I think even said when we had our first, I didn't, watch some other dads that their life changed, and they had this feeling, this overwhelming feeling. Like I had emotions, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have this like zing that some people speak about. So I thought, maybe that's just, it's not in me. Last night I had that, and I was like, isn't it like I'm walking in the middle of nowhere? There's no, like, it's not like I've got a £1 million contract that's about to come on board, but I've got this feeling in me that is just so happy for life. And I know that sometimes we have ups and then we have downs. It's like, I'm okay to be in this up right now, because this is where I want to be. Even to the point, I like a couple of sad songs, right? I think we all like a bit of Coldplay and a bit of that. And especially when you're walking, I think it's good to be able to tap into intentionally feeling those down so that you can work your way through it. And I scrolled and I saw some songs. I was like, oh, let's play that one. And it was relatively sad type of song. And I was like, oh, no, not today. I don't need that. And for me, I want to share the journey. You may not recognize it within yourself if you haven't gone through it. But for me, it was quite big that, those choices that lie deep down. And what I mean by that is the choices of when you sit on the couch, you go, I know I should be working, but I'm not going to work. I know I should go and work out, but I'm not working. I know I shouldn't have these crisps, but I am. I know I shouldn't have this chocolate, but I'm just going to do it. So there's that internal narrative of going like, I'm just doing this. I don't want to, but or even better is like when you're feeling sad or stressed and you become aware that you're feeling sad or stressed, you go, I need to change my mood or emotion. And you just go, I just can't. I've always wondered, like, how do we grapple with that? But last night was an example of like, there was something in me going, let's listen to that sad song because actually it brings us a bit of comfort to allow us the downer to be able to shift through the roller coaster of emotions. And there's something inside me that was like, no, we don't need it today. And I was like, how amazing is that growth for me, progress for me? And I'm hoping that you can resonate with this, or if you're on some part of your journey that I'm at 100 episodes in. I've really hoped to capture the human journey of like what you can go through. If I was at episode number 1 and I heard someone talking the way I'm talking today, I would be like, nah, never me, not what I'm about. It's different. I don't think that exists. And he's lying. But if you're on episode number 1 in a metaphor, then please just trust that the journey that you can go on, there is a future that exists for you where you feel a genuine Steve Irwin type of excitement within you for no reason at all. You don't have to be having a massive dopamine hit. You don't have to be having, money coming in or relationships happening or things working out for you to feel good. You just deserve to feel good. That exists in your future. If you don't feel that now, it's fine. Genuinely, it is okay. I think some of the worst things we can hold is guilt, that we feel bad when we go, I shouldn't be feeling bad because I should be grateful. And all it's like, guys, at the end of the day, if you feel bad and you've got lots of things to feel good for, feel bad and don't feel guilty about it. Let's work on how we can move through that feeling bad so that we can actually be grateful for when people say, oh, you can be grateful. Like an example is, when I had a dip in rugby after injury, wasn't getting picked in the team. And I remember I tried really hard and I'd been picked in the team and then the following week on the bench and then the following week out because I was like in and out, in and out, in and out. And I was sitting in the changing room and I was leaning forward, like head in my hands. Like sometimes you're just sulking. And like I was sulking because I was just fed up. As you're in a dark space, you actually you stop caring as much about what other people think. And Elvis Tyone came over to me and he sits down and he goes, what's wrong, brother? And I was like, I'm not in the team, it just sucks. And he goes, yeah, and he's like, I love him. And he said, you got kids, right? And I was like, yeah. And he says, and they healthy, right? And I said, yeah. And he's like, and your wife and your mum all healthy? I said, yes. He goes, well, then nothing else matters. It's okay. And he walked off and I was like, you idiot. Like, of course it matters. I should be in that team and I'm not in the team. I've tried really hard. And it didn't, like, the fact that he was trying to say my kids and all that are healthy and I should be happy. I was like, you just don't get it. But now, like, I kind of, that's what I'm trying to get to is you can still want to be ambitious. You can still want to be in the team and still find gratitude in the things that you have. And I think sometimes we are stuck in this, I want to be ambitious, I don't have it, therefore I shouldn't be grateful. But actually, if we can find that balance of like, I love what I've got. I'm so in love with the life that I have. And I'm also in love with the journey of working towards a life that I can add on to it. It's not about going, well, I'm not grateful for this because I want that. It's going, I can have this and I want that. And I'm grateful for both. And I love this experiment, this experience that is life. Let's try and reframe how we approach it, because if you go down the self-awareness, self-development, spirituality, they go, ambition is and desire and all that kind of stuff is like, actually, if it's a core fundamental part of every human experience, then we have to ride the wave of experimenting and experiencing desire and ambition until you find a point where actually that ambition is it's not what you want anymore, or it is. Because if your temperament is driven by ambition, stop trying to fight it. If your temperament is driven by perfection, stop trying to fight it. Just learn how to ride it. I saw actually a fantastic Instagram reel where a guy's being chased by a car. And the car represents anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And he tries everything he can. I'm trying this, I'm trying that to escape the anxiety. And then he's talking to someone else, like, please help me. And the guy's trying. And he's at the end of the day, he says, the car has got no driver. And that car's probably just finds you wherever you are because you can't hide from it. You can't run for it. You've got to face it. And so the guy's like, well, just jump in the driver's seat and drive it. And the timing of that reel was really good because I've been saying that we should just look at what it is we're trying to get away from and lean into that and accept, like, if you're anxious, if you feel shame, if you feel rejection, like, don't feel guilty that you have it. Don't feel like it makes you less than who you are, because that's just a part of a journey that you have to learn to jump into and go, okay, well, let's learn to ride this. Like, an analogy is if you see how people, like a bucking bronco or a wild stallion, how you tame a wild stallion is you get on that thing until you break it. And it's the same with something inside of you that's eating away. Is don't avoid it. Don't try and change away from it. Change towards it. Get on that stallion. Get on that thing that's going to buck you off. Get back on, get back on, get back on, till eventually it becomes a stallion and you're riding into town and it's like Johnny Cash's When the Man Comes Around is playing and you're just the bee's knees. Like, how about that vision of whatever it is that is gripping you at the moment, that is stopping you from enjoying life, that is just a sad, dark dog, depression, anxiety, fear, shame, rejection, all that, those are there. We can't run away from those. So just get it, like that's a stallion and it's mean and it's going to buck you off and it's going to be horrible. But if we only think about riding that stallion and overcoming anxiety as a one-off, we go, I tried to and therefore it didn't work. What's missing is this longer goal. So if you think about, you have 5 years to get rid of it. So let's try and see is how often can we jump on that thing before it bucks us off, jump on it before it bucks, and when will it break? Not when will I break, when will it break? I think that's going to be important. So maybe the takeaway for episode number 100, because when we started at number 1, we always had a goal of getting past the first 27 episodes and then keep going, is for you, stretch your timeline of anything you're trying to achieve. Is you're not going to achieve it tomorrow. Maybe you will. If you try, it'll happen. But stretch your timeline of anything you're trying to get through for yourself: identity, change, performance, execution. Stretch your timeline and use it as the experiment of every single day is get towards that. So, I've written on my mirror now, what's the one goal that you have? And if every day you wake up and you say, is what I'm doing today working towards that one goal? You'll actually find yourself more able to work through the fear of rejection, because the fear, and I've spoken to this on episode 80 something, is if the outcome you want is on the other side of rejection and you hit rejection, what we need to do is stretch the outcome to be so far past rejection that you're looking at the outcome and rejection is just a step. So you get through it and you bump back, you get through it, and then you get through that when you get through that, you get through it. Whereas if it's there, the outcome and rejection are so close together that you actually you're bumping across the same things. So stretch your timeline. Maybe that's the takeaway for today. And for the rest of it, I'm going to wind back into the soul story. If you guys are waiting, that when I was walking, so we've been all over the place. I hope you've stayed with me. Actually, if you haven't, it's okay too. Dopamine levels, etc., etc. So if you go back to my walking story, is I want us to give ourselves permission to feel good. And if you don't have that genuine feeling of like loving life and being excited for life, then that's okay. Give yourself permission to not feel that too. But what I want to plant the seed in today is that does exist for you. So the seed of feeling good about life does exist for you. The difference is when you plant a seed, it can grow on its own. But if you've planted the seed and it's in a troubled environment, you've got to take extra care of it. Like we use the analogy of a bonsai. Is you've got to put it in the right place, you've got to water it, you've got to trim it back, you've got to make sure it's got the right soil, the right amount of air, the right amount of sunshine and nighttime and all that kind of stuff. So for you, that seed that you're planting of I deserve to feel good about life. I deserve to have that feeling inside of me that makes me feel like Steve Irwin, then that exists in your future. Just accept that exists in your future. Not now. Because if you think it's now and you don't have it and you feel guilty for not, it exists in your future, you're going to work towards it. And if you keep following the podcast and keep an eye out for some of the courses and the challenges that we're going to run, I've taken a while to reach the conviction that I feel like I've finally reached, where if you message me and you say, Don, I want that feeling, I promise you, I'll get you to that feeling. It might take you 3 months, might take you 6, might take you a year or longer. Depends what you're willing to invest in terms of what cost are you willing to pay. And I don't mean cost in money. I mean cost in your time, your resource, your emotion, how you go about life. Like what cost are you willing to pay to get that feeling? Because I promise you it exists. I didn't think I could feel it and I've got it. And I'll figure out how to make sure that it stays. So there's almost an acceptance piece that is really like acceptance is probably something that's coming up as a feeling a lot. And I want as many people as I can to join that journey, whether you're on the timeline behind me or you're the timeline in front of me and you know what my next stages are going through. Like, let's connect. We're a human experience. Let's move it forward. Now, with the walk, again, I said about the soul story. I'm going to tell the soul story and then we're probably going to end it there as episode number 100. Stick to this theme of it doesn't have to be long to be effective. But if you haven't watched the movie Soul, 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 then go and watch the movie Soul. Now, I know I'll get some of these facts wrong, some of the words wrong, but the principle is what we're talking about here. Is there's a little character called 22, and everyone starts as a soul in, let's talk it like a platform just below heaven, because when people die, then they go on this conveyor belt to heaven. But there's this platform just above. They can see Earth. There's a hole in the platform and they can see Earth. And they are just like round soul looking characters, and they get given a patch to go and find their purpose. Once they find their purpose, I think if you die, then you go to heaven. But if you don't find your purpose, you go back to this platform, right? So one of the main characters is a character called 22. She's number 22 soul of whatever. And she has never been able to find her purpose. And it goes through like her history, and she's had like all the Stoics, all these wise people in the past that she's gone and had life experiences with, never found her purpose. So she's like the one that is the most troubling. And then you get Joe Gardner. He's already on Earth, and he is a musician. And so it shows like when he's playing the piano, he goes into flows. Like he can go into this, you know how like just the different lights pop up, and when he's playing, he's just in the zone. And there's this magic that happens when he plays. And so the whole story comes around where there's a confusion between him landing up on that platform, her landing in his body, and it gets to the point where he's then trying to help her find her purpose, but obviously it doesn't go according to plan. And this is where the dip comes in. She goes back up to the platform and she withdraws because she starts to think that she doesn't have a purpose anymore. She can't find it. There's something wrong with her. And then there's like this cupboard that goes into this other world. It's just a desert. It's like the free, like where your spiritual hippies would be. They're like, there's this guy that like goes on a ship in the desert. But there's also these desert monsters. So they almost look like the Pac-Man ghosts, but they're like black and gray foggy bits, and they roam the desert, and they almost run away from you. They're not there to like eat you, but they're scary looking monsters. And 22 ends up turning into one of those. So you then realize that inside each of those monsters is a lost soul, one that hasn't found its purpose. But Joe Gardner, who's obviously trying to help 22 find her purpose, goes after her, and she keeps running away because it's fearful, right? This thing's fearful. Then she goes onto the platform, she crashes through, and she's not meant to be there. So there's lots of other little kiddies, and then like these sentient beings that are just like so chill. Like there's this monster walking through their place, and they're like, oh, it's fine, it's just 22, don't worry about it. And they know everything, so they know it's meant to happen. Like unshakable to the core. Love them. Very good role models. And eventually Joe catches up to 22, who's the monster, and steps into her cloud. Like everyone else is scared of her. Not everyone, not the sentient beings, but the other little souls. And Joe steps into the cloud that's surrounding 22. And you have to either picture yourself as Joe or 22. Now, in order for you to be Joe, to step into someone else's cloud, as he's walking towards 22, fears, memories, lashing out, all the things that are surrounding 22 are attacking Joe. So shouting at him, like the fearful things, and like insulting him, and like trying its best to make sure that Joe doesn't get to 22. Joe then reaches 22 and gives her a hug and says, I'm here for you. Or he's just there for her. And just by accepting and being seen and knowing that he's not going to give up on her and believes in her and like reminds her that she is important, the dark cloud goes away and she goes back to being 22, and she's a joyful soul. And it's such a beautiful moment, because I think for us, we can take a lot of learns from us, is we are both 22 and Joe. So if you want to be someone like Joe and help other people, like Joe had to be so sure in himself that he was able to walk through this cloud of like demon protectors that are surrounding 22 and not be offended by them. So he's unshakable, if you think about that, because he wasn't taking it personally. He realized that was all about 22. Now, how often do we have that in work or relationships where you fight with someone and they say something mean and you take it personally, and then you fight and you always take it too personally? But what we need is to be the safe space for that person to be able to project and take and retaliate, and then for you to go, oh, I still love you, like that safe space. I don't think that we've got enough safe space energy around us at the moment. And I think we all need to realize, like, if you're watching up to this point and you've listened to that story, then perhaps that resonates with you. Is like you want to be someone that can be a safe space for others. The thing is, it takes a lot. Like, you're going to have to work really smartly and diligently and deterministically to find your purpose and be comfortable with it, because it's not a belief thing. It's not a values thing. It's not describing who you are and what you're about. It's feeling. It genuinely always comes down to, from my experience, it's a feeling inside of you that you can't explain. You don't need to, but you can help others through finding their own feeling. And when they find it, you go, don't need to explain it. I see you've got it. And they go, and you have that like silent nod, right? For if you want to be Joe Gardner, then it's self-awareness and self-development. Just it never ends, but it's always with the end goal of like you realize that you are going to be a safe space for someone, because what you need is this, you needed a safe space so that you could find out who you were and reflect on what you were. And I think sometimes we don't build that. Now, you could also be 22. You've been in the beginning of the journey I've just said. So you were 22 before you got to Joe Gardner. You've done the self-awareness. You've done the self-development. You're trying, but there's certain beliefs and demonizing, like protective demons that are stopping others from helping you. And they're very clever in terms of like, you won't realize that you're doing it. And that's the thing, is like how we create self-awareness and self-development for us to go from 22 to Joe Gardner is we have to allow ourselves to be seen by other people. And that's hard, because if you don't like who you are, you won't let other people see who you are. So it comes back down to like, let's start to like who we are first and start to work on that. Now, the how is probably the next question. And like episode 100, I'm going to say it for the 6th time, is for me to really set a platform and be like, right, guys, I genuinely, I find myself thinking about identity human a lot. And I did a talk at the Exmouth Wellness Festival. And I realized that there's 3 fundamental things that we all need to get to this feeling of knowing yourself, like knowing who you are. You've got a vision, you need to learn how to execute, and then you find out who you are while you're executing. If you want some help on that, genuinely, just sign up to the waitlist. Like I've got plans to do the 5-day challenges more often. Those become a bit more paid. And then if you want to go deeper dives, so you have a bit more help, you go into the course. Because sometimes all we need is the 5 days. Sometimes we need just a bit of a spark, but also we need people around us that are ahead of where we are to get us where we want to go to. And I really, really have gained a lot of conviction in the last year and a half, knowing that sometimes we don't need a whole plan and strategy. We just need a spark, and we just need a feeling. And that feeling drives us enough. So I'll be leaning a lot more into how to train your chimp. And because you've seen the chimp is on the thumbnails. And yeah, if you want to get a head start, go and read a book called The Chimp Paradox, because everything I do is kind of built off the back of that. I didn't do it on purpose, but the chimp paradox makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I really enjoy the fact that if you have a chimp in your mind and you accept that principle, then what you do is you remove yourself from your ego. And when you remove yourself from your ego, you take things less personally. But it takes a lot of time, by the way. Like I said, these demons that protect us, i.e. could be a chimp, are very clever at playing the strategic game that fool you into thinking it's you. So how we maneuver our way out of the identity that we've currently got, which is a set form of beliefs and the way we see things, to the one we want, is we have to understand how to separate ourselves, and we have to work towards that vision. So sign up to the waitlist at www.identityhuman.com if you want to join that journey, because things will start to get more active. If you don't want to be part of a group thing, if you want to go straight into one-to-one stuff because you've got the resource and you're like, Don, I actually really like what you're saying, then just message, like, I don't know, comment on this or message me directly at don@identityhuman.com, because it's all set up. I want to be able to help out in anyone's journey, because I think we're all important. Who knows, if you're listening to this and something inside of you resonates and you take it upon yourself to live the life that you want to live, and one day in the future you meet my kids and you help them, that's essentially what I want, because that's the whole point in life, isn't it? Ubuntu, we are who we are through others. So on that point, I've told you what's available. I've given you the story, and I really hope that this episode number 100 has given you some insight, B, some direction, C, some solutions and some options, and D, a cool story that makes you reflect on, like, flip, are you Joe Gardner, or are you 22, or do you want to go watch the movie Soul, right? And then go and watch the movie Up if you want to add on to that. Not Up, sorry. I can't remember it. Anyway, I'll finish there. I'll get you movie recommendations, maybe Kung Fu Pandas, because they're full of wisdom. But on that note, I'm going to end. So thank you very much for listening. Just remember, we are who we are through others. So Ubuntu, it's an African proverb. And I'll work on me for you if you work on you for me. Have a great day. See you soon.